when I recorded my videos about the mall shooter in Atlanta in 1990, which is a subject that I have returned to on my Substack page, I'm trying to, I don't know, I'm trying to make kind of a thing out of it. I'm trying to do something to get this case not reopened, but re-examined, because it's just such a strange case. There's so many weird things about it. But that's a different issue entirely anyway. But when I recorded that video, a couple of you talked to me about some episodes of the X-Files, which you said were, you know, sounded like they were about a case of a guy who might have been based on this guy, the mall shooter in Atlanta, who claimed to have had a chip installed in his body, and claimed other things. I don't know. It's just go back and watch my videos, or better yet, read my Substack page, the articles that I've recently written about this case, if you're interested. But a couple of you made these recommendations, and I went back and it took me a little while, because I recorded those mall shooter videos a little while ago, but for some reason just recently revisited them and saw those comments, and so I went back and watched those episodes of the X-Files. Now, here's what really struck me in watching the X-Files, you know, this many years later, and I was not a big X-Files fan. I mean, it was okay. It was something I occasionally watched. I was really more of a fan of Chris Carter had another show called Millennium that I loved at the time, but it was not nearly as successful, with Lance Henriksen in the main role. Loved that program. But the X-Files was, of course, much more successful, and it was a huge cultural phenomenon, and it ran for about a decade or so. A lot that could be said, you know, about the show, the X-Files, given that, I mean, and maybe I'll go on at more length about this at a later date, if I feel inclined to do so. But just off the top of my head, you know, the fact that this was a show about FBI agents, or it was about the FBI, and actually used, I believe, the official FBI logo. You know, the FBI was invoked. They showed the FBI, you know, the actual real estate where the FBI is in, the building is in DC. So I don't think they would have been able to do that kind of thing, all those kinds of things, without the FBI actually being partnered with them, or allied with the makers of the show. And that's interesting in and of itself, because you watch the show and, you know, it's a very it's not exactly what you would think of as like a pro FBI kind of show. I mean, the one of the heroes of the show, Mulder, is like a rogue agent who thinks that the FBI is you know, hiding a lot of things and keeping things from the public, and lying to the public in a lot of ways. So it does seem to be a vehicle for a kind of soft disclosure, you know, soft in the sense of, you know, it's fictional, it's on television, it's entertainment. And by the way, as entertainment, or as far as the overall quality of the show, it still looks really good. I mean, it doesn't look, to me, dated hardly at all. The only thing that's dated about it are the hairstyles and the big ass phones that they're holding. The cell phones that are the size of a watermelon or whatever. But as far as as far as the visuals and everything, it's strikingly it really holds up well. And it's striking how well it holds up. Given that it's 30 years later, 30 years down the road. But I think we found out that didn't we find out that Podesta was in some way involved? Podesta himself, I can't say his name without wincing, was somehow involved with X-Files type stuff, and that if the woman whose name I dislike even saying, if she had won in 2016, that perhaps there would have been some kind of disclosure with what do they call them? Not UFOs, but not WAPs, but I think they invented some new 3-letter term that I can't remember right now. These things always fly from my brain when I need them. UAPs, that's it. UAPs. For some reason, they're changing the designation to UAP. I don't have much to say about the whole alien thing. It's something I've talked about before, and of course, we've seen some weird stuff with allegations about aliens and what have you. But it seemed that perhaps the X-Files was always being kind of lined up as a sort of a soft disclosure sort of thing, whether aliens are real or not. And I'm not taking a stand on that. Whether UFOs are, actually the product of a non-terrestrial intelligence, or whether they are, the technology that's been created, by the state, but that they're keeping from the rest of us, or whatever other explanations there might be for it. I don't really know, and I don't really have a dog in that hunt. But anyway, all of this wasn't even what I was going to talk about here, but I guess it turned out to be a large part of what I did talk about in this video. But here's the thing that really struck me was the character of Dana Scully, Gillian Anderson. It's strange to say 30 years later, but I didn't at the time. I wasn't crushing on her as a healthy, red-blooded man in his late 20s or whatever. But looking back now, I'm thinking, wow. Number one, I mean, she's beautiful, but also there's something about her character that really, I watch old shows or old movies, and sometimes I get these pangs of realizing, the degree to which we have fallen as a culture, and the extent to which that fall has been something that's been done to us, right, as opposed to something that just naturally happened, of its own accord. But today we have, it's trendy for, I mean, I don't think anybody really likes it. I don't think anybody really gravitates to these kinds of characters. But right now it's trendy for them to, for the entertainment industry to feed us these female empowerment, sort of like heroines who are in your face and they're good at everything, and that they're showing up. The man comes along and she just shows him up because she's so much better than him at everything. And the kind of the Rey sort of character, the She-Hulk sort of sort of character. All these kinds of Captain America, all of these really irritating characters that nobody really likes. But you know, it's a product of the time period that we're in. That they're feeding us this, like, we can't have characters who are feminine and vulnerable and likable in that sense, while still being, you know, resourceful and smart and not just a wilting flower. This is very much what the character of Dana Scully was on the X-Files. You know, she was, of course, tough in her own kind of understated way, but she was also very feminine and vulnerable. And in the episodes that I saw, I remember, like, she had this reverence for her recently deceased father. You would just never see that. Like, father, like a heroine with a father that she loves and adores. That's just like, that's just sexist. No, we've got to make the father into some terrible person, who either abused her or abandoned her or whatever. And now she's she made it because she made it on her own, because girl power and whatever. So that was something that really struck me about the episodes, the few episodes that I watched of the X-Files. Was, we could still have characters, female characters like Dana Scully, like Agent Scully, who were truly feminine and, had this softness to them, even at the same time as, they were not, like I said, not just some, ditzy broad, but somebody, who had brains and who was resourceful and all of those things, while also being feminine and vulnerable. So, we gotta. I said we, but it's not we. It's they. The entertainment industry just got away from giving us those kinds of female characters. I know there are exceptions to the rule that I'm giving now, but it's been what, like, it's been all the rage for the last few years. People talking about there's one ball busting, totally overpowered female heroine. I know that's redundant. Some heroine, who's good at everything, and that seems like all that they can give us now, and it's totally uninteresting. Even if it weren't, obnoxious, it seems like it makes the characters less compelling, less interesting. I don't think. Who wants to just see just a rendering of perfection? And perfection meaning she's strong and she's tough and she's in your face and she don't need no man. She's better than any man because women are better than men. That whole, all that nonsense, all that misandric nonsense. That's in the air today. That's created such a backlash, and for good reason. That wasn't the case in the 90s, with a show like the X-Files and a character like Dana Scully. It just doesn't seem like they'd be able to, or they'd want to, pull that off today. I wonder what would happen. if you had somebody like a character like that come back and be that way, you know, would would feminist groups complain that she's not strong or tough enough or whatever? I mean, it's just again a sign of how far we've fallen. And again, I when I say that we've fallen, I mean we've been pushed. We've been pushed down the well. We've been pushed down into the void. We've fallen because they've pushed us, and the people who gave us the shove, they have names and addresses. So anyway, I'll end on that note. Thanks for watching.